Ladies and gentlemen, today we are gathered for a very tragic death. Today we are gathered to mourn the life of Tottenham title challenge, September 2023 to November 2023. I'm joking, it's clickbait. I don't think it's quite over for Tottenham just yet. But it is. What an absolutely insane match. I apologise I'm too late talking about it, but I need some time to really grasp this absolutely mental fixture, which told us so much and pretty much showed us what we already knew about Chelsea and Tottenham. So it's a very fascinating fixture. Now, the good thing about this game was that I felt the VAR decisions and the officiating was not as bad as it could have been, considering some of the appalling officiating we've seen on a consistent level every weekend this season. This was a more tame game, especially when it comes to the Newcastle-Arsenal game, which is on. Oh, God forbid I talk about that. So, this match really exposed the big issue with Tottenham, which was the issue that I kind of brought up when I did my video about who gets Europe a couple of weeks ago, and that is, it's quite obvious to a lot of people, but it's the squad depth. With Tottenham this season, they've had an 11. They've had a team, and you know who that 11 is. They've not really had any injuries yet. You know, it's Vicario in goal. You've got Porro and Udogie as the, fullbacks. You've got Romero and Van de Ven at the back. You've got Basuma and Sarr, the pivot, with Maddison in front of them. Then the front three, it's Son in the middle, Kulusevski on the right, and then it was Richarlison on the left, but then it was Brendan Johnson on the left. And they didn't have the Carabao Cup. They got knocked out in the first round. Possible. They don't have a European competition, so a lot of people did worry about them with only one game a week. But the key issue with Tottenham is that squad depth. You lose Romero, you bring on Eric Dyer. And no disrespect to Dyer, I know he's had a good finish, was ruled out offside, but nowhere near the level for a team going after, the top four. That's just the truth. And then even with the midfield, you're bringing on people like Oliver Skip. I know Bentancur is a decent player, but Højbjerg is not on the level of a Sarr. You know what I mean? Like he just isn't. And I think the big issue with Tottenham this season is going to be that squad depth and can they maintain. And I think they've taken massive battering, and it's really unlucky to lose 2 players to red card suspensions and 2 players to injuries. And these players weren't just, bit part players you could do without. These are essential players. James Maddison has been everything Tottenham have been this season, and has been if not the sign of the summer so far, with how he's transformed that team and what he's been able to do. That is a major loss. Van de Ven, I don't think enough people talked about what he's done at the back as well. The upgrade from Dyer to him, like I said, was fantastic, and he's made Romero look good. And I've got to say, for me, if we go through in a sec, I'm going to go through all the kind of decisions and all the kind of moments that people questioned throughout the game, and I'll kind of give you my take on them. So let's start from the first potential Udogie red card. And look, I would not have been shocked if that was a red card. But I think, considering Sterling, he kind of moves back. He doesn't even go in for it. I think if he tried to go in for it, he could have actually got him sent off. But I think it was a justified yellow, but I wouldn't have been too angry. Romero's first thing, I don't know how he didn't get any kind of card for that. That was embarrassing, frankly, from, the referee and VAR there. But luckily, they did get revenge. And the second one, look, you could not argue with it. I think never in my life have I seen a goal been ruled out for a team and they profit more because of that, because they got Romero off and the penalty, which Cole Palmer does score. And I think that I don't have a problem with that penalty or red card. I think Romero was really naive in that tackle. I think Romero is someone who I rate Romero. I really liked him when he first came in during the 2020-22 season. 21-22 season. I thought he was last season was not a good season for him, but I kind of was a bit like, well, who in a Tottenham shirt other than Harry Kane really delivered last year? And I don't think he was the problem, really. And but Van de Ven has really, hid the frailties in Romero's game. He is a hothead. He's not composed, and you need someone more composed than Romero at the back. Udogie, that was just naive. He had to go. He was lucky to escape with the first one, and the second one, there's no argument. But I think what really was key was that Ange did not change his style of football and philosophy. He kept playing a high line. And, I've seen a lot of people ridicule this, and a lot of people criticise that you've got 9 men, what are you doing? But they almost got it back into the game twice. You know, Dyer scores the offside goal, which it's offside, but if he gets that, you know, people are singing Andrew's praise. Son, of course, also has a really good chance. Like, it wasn't exact. Chelsea still struggled, even though it was 9 men. And I've seen people be positive about this Chelsea performance, and I've seen people be negative about it. And I think the way some Chelsea fans talk about it is quite embarrassing, because like you've got 3 points, and you're still moaning so much about how you played. Like, you scored 4 at the end of the day. Like, I know it wasn't a vintage performance, but the most important thing is how many points you get at the end of the day. It doesn't really matter how you play. Like, that's not how the league's decided. It's about points. It's about getting points and goals, and that's what they got. So, but I do think it exposed a lot. I mean, Nicholas Jackson scored a hat-trick, but like, he could have had a double hat-trick. I mean, Haaland would have. Like, the amount of good balls Sterling was playing to him. It's probably Sterling's best game in years, probably, since he left Man City. Like, it was a really solid performance, but again, you're playing against 9 men, and it's like, as soon as Chelsea make it 2-1, it's like the game's pretty much over, and they might as well have chased it. And I think, look, Ange was naive with the way he was trying to play, but I got what he was trying to do, and it almost worked, and that's the kind of sad thing. And I think, and I did, so that's kind of the thing there. And I think it exposed the big issue with Chelsea is finishing. The amount of chances that Chelsea made, and even before it was down to 9 men, when it was 11v11, Chelsea were dominating it a lot. I know Tottenham had the good early lead, they got the lucky kind of deflected goal, and they scored another one which was offside, and they kind of dominated the early period. But after a while, you know, after 10-15 minutes, it really, momentum shifted, and Chelsea had the momentum. But again, they just showed the lack of composure in front of goal. And Jackson, you know, he isn't meant to be Erling Haaland. He isn't meant to be Harry Kane. He isn't meant to be Lewandowski. But he's not hitting the numbers you'd expect him to do. But it's a bit like Darwin Núñez, where it's like, you can see with Jackson that there's something there. Like, you can see with Jackson that he has something about him. And if he works in the finisher, he could be great. But it's just, it did not work in this game. It did not work. But I think the big question is, where does this leave Tottenham and Chelsea now? Will the trajectories change? And I mean, Chelsea had Man City on the weekend, so a good chance of that. But this is going to be a real test to see how he can cope. You know, Romero's out for 3 games, I believe, because it's a straight red. Udogie will be out for 1 game, and Van der Ven, the injury did not look good, and neither did Maddison. Hopefully Maddison didn't look as bad, but you never know with these things, do you? You really don't. But for Chelsea, I think the same issues are going to keep applying to them, and I think they could potentially get Europe, but it's going to be about being clinical. And I think this game really exposed, more than ever, kind of those issues. Now, a big talking point, of course, is that there was another famous game this season with a Big Six clash where a team went down to 9 men with Tottenham involved. And as a Liverpool fan, I would laugh at Tottenham here and call it revenge, but I do not blame Tottenham, and I feel like that needs to be remembered. I think I see a lot of Liverpool fans kind of laughing at the result and going, "Oh, it's revenge for the 2-1." But Tottenham didn't do anything wrong. Tottenham just played the game. They worked hard. They broke down 9 men. It wasn't their fault that Luis Diaz had a goal that was legitimate ruled out. Curtis Jones got one of the most questionable red cards of the season. Or Jota got a first yellow for literally the guy tripping himself up. It wasn't their fault. So I don't want to laugh at Tottenham, and I like this Tottenham team. If Liverpool don't win the league, they're my favourite team out of the other 3 that could possibly win it, and I think. But the real winners this weekend are Manchester City. Of course, Liverpool did get the frustrating 1-1 draw against Luton, which, you know, is good that Luis Diaz gets the goal and that it's not a loss, because I think losing to Luton is much worse. But it was a poor point, and it's kind of a typical Liverpool thing. A promoted team away always tends to stump Liverpool, give them a tough game. Then, of course, Arsenal losing to Newcastle, which, in my opinion, I think there was nothing wrong with that goal. It was in. It was in. Like, cameras show that it was in. And if they couldn't 100% prove if it was out or in, you favour the attacker, don't you, in these sort of things. You favour the team that has scored in these so tight ones that you can't, kind of decide. The foul, it's not a foul. Like, you don't give that as a foul anywhere else in the pitch. So I don't see all this talk about that foul. It's not bad. And Gordon's not on offside. I don't get why that was even a discussion. So, and handball was there wasn't, like, they tried everything to get rid of it, and I think you could argue, oh well, there's so much that could be wrong with it, just disallow it. But no, because if you actually look at them one by one, I have a leg to stand on. And Arteta's post match was embarrassing. The way he went on about like VAR and stuff, and how bad the referees are. When the Liverpool injustice happened, he said to move on. It's the hypocrisy, it's the double standards that you constantly see. You know. And then And came out yesterday and actually defended the referees, which, look, I think the referees are getting a lot of stick this season, and the PGMOL are having a hard time. They've made a lot of really bad mistakes, but I do think some people do go a bit overboard. And the get rid of VAR talk is just ridiculous, because, little rant before the end of the video, people are always going on about like, oh, get rid of VAR, bin off VAR, we want it gone, but VAR was brought in because of things like Thierry Henry's handball against France, or when a referee sent off Oxlade-Chamberlain when it was actually somebody else who looked like Oxlade-Chamberlain. Like, these kind of mistakes that it's there to support the referees. The system is fine. It's the unequipped people using VAR, and like people always go, "Oh, VAR check every single goal," but you get to celebrate twice. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not every goal, is it? And there's so many dodgy things that have happened over the years, and it's better to have this conversation. And people say, oh, but you move on for it quicker. No, because it's wrong. It's an injustice. They brought it in for a reason, and it's not been implemented well. I can agree with that. They need to make fixes, but you can't bin off VAR. But anyway, that is my opinion. So Tottenham, I think you are in a bad test, and this will be an absolutely major couple of weeks to see what Ange's capable of. But I back Ange to make the most out of this situation, and they should be okay. They should be okay. They've got Wolves away, I believe, this weekend. That's going to be a tougher game than you think. And as for Chelsea, I mean, it's the same story every time. You get so many chances and you just can't finish them. But if you can finish about half of them, you might have a shot. So that's my opinion. Goodbye, lot.